Good morning, welcome to Talk to Anthony. Today we're going to have a insightful conversation. For those that are new to the channel, we can make mental health conversations and content that's going to be beneficial to your personal development in addition to your well-being. Today's conversation, we'll be talking about progress counts even when no one sees it. I want us to take into consideration that burnout isn't a lack of discipline. It is a signal of overload. We got to take into consideration when enough's enough, right? We got to have a nice balance. I don't want us to be taught from the floor up. I don't want us ruminating and self-sabotaging and keeping ourselves in a low vibration type of thing. So I really want us to really embrace, like I said, having a balance, right? So let's normalize and reduce the shame, right? So many people equate consistency with pushing harder and harder every day, right? We assume that if it's not intense, we ain't doing it hard enough. You know what I mean? We're comparing ourselves to other people, that what they got going on, that why are they successful? We ain't successful. Maybe I got to work harder. Maybe I got to do more, right? That may be true, but it's the way to do it, right? So the mindset ignores mental and emotional capacity, right? When we are neglecting our needs, right? So burnout often comes from ignoring our limits, not by lack of effort, right? So effort is really big. As long as you're showing up for yourself, you're doing the best that you can, you're going to reach your goals, right? Like I said, there's balance, there's progression. The little things do matter and create that ripple effect, right? For that big picture that we do want. But we got to understand that burnout is real, right? So when we're working too hard, this causes us to have complications in our performance, right? So you're not inconsistent, you're overloaded, right? So you got to realize, like I said, when it comes to that burnout. Moving forward, when it comes to some psychoeducation, some simple ways to stay grounded, right? So we don't want to be taught from the floor, like I mentioned, right? So we have to have some skills and strategies to be able to keep ourselves at ease, right? So consistency is about patterns, not intensity, right? So as I mentioned, that E word of effort, as long as you're coming to show up for yourself, you're consistent with yourself, you're able to provide that, service for yourself, things will be good. And I really want to highlight something too. A lot of us out there, we're working for different organizations, right? We're providing phenomenal service. We're showing up. We have like a little 15-minute, 30-minute break, but really identify, the rhythm of excellence that you provide, right, for others, right? And utilize the same way that you provide that service for other people. What about yourself? Do you give yourself outside the work, life or work experience or work day, right? The 30 minutes you need to kind of give yourself that refresh. I always talk about self, solitude, where you're able to really think about positive reframing. Where are you going? Where you heading? How are you feeling, right? So think about these things, right? And I really want you to be able to implement these things into your life in regards to that self-care, because this is really going to keep you at ease and get to your goals by you having, time to refresh and to keep yourself grounded, right? So pulling it back together in regards to that psychoeducation, right? So the nervous system requires recovery, to sustain that effort. Pushing through exhaustion teaches your brain that effort requires, is equivalent to a threat, right? So like I said, you want to be able to avoid burnout by, having that balance, right? This creates that avoidance, not that resilience. So, right, so sustainability, consistency is based on, you respecting your energy, not just your goals. You really want to be able to take into consideration that you got to recover, right? When you're providing all this energy and you're performing, it's taking something away from you. We have to be real, right? So we got to be able to recover. We got to be able to allow ourselves to have that balance, right? So progress isn't loud, it is repeated, right? So as long as you have energy and you have the effort and you're showing up for yourself, you're going to get things done. But at the same time too, we got to have breaks. We have to know when to get that recovery. We got to get that rest, right? And we'll come back and we'll resume, right? So don't make it seem as if that you have to have everything or get everything done in one day. Was the White House built in one day? Was a normal house built in one day? Was the pyramids built in one day, right? Was the skyscrapers built in one day? No, nothing really good happens in one day, right? Good things take what? Good things take time. So as long as you're being easy on yourself, you're being compassionate to yourself, you're loving yourself, right? And you're having that energy and the effort to show up for yourself, things will begin to, get on track and you'll see the progression within time. But you got to be able to take into consideration that burnout is real, right? So pulling it, moving forward, let's talk about some practical reframing. I always like to have that positive mindset, right? So how can we be more consistent in a different way, right? So lower the minimum, not the standard, right? Define success as a repeatable process and be respectful to that process, because like I say, you don't want to burn yourself out, right? So just know your limitations. Everybody's going to be different, but just know, where you lie in that spectrum, right? Match effort to the capacity, right? So show up for yourself, right? There'll be some days, for instance, that you may be a little tired, right? So motivate yourself to the best of your capacity. But if you know that you're just tired and you need that day to recover, refresh, this is self-care is love. You feel me? So love yourself to the best of your capabilities, but recover, right? Do what you got to do. Some examples could be 5 minutes of movement, one paragraph for those out there that can spend some time, journaling, right? So be accountable, right? Have an honest conversation, and an intentional pause when you're, when you're doing things, right? So really just allow yourself to embrace that consistency with having breaks and having times that, for yourself, in addition to knowing your limitations. So you really want to be really intuitive with yourself. Like I said, everybody's going to be different, but you want to be able to have some accommodations that's going to be beneficial for you, right? So consistency doesn't mean that you're doing the most. It means that you're doing what you can repeatedly, right? So like I said, look at your limitations, look at your energy, ask yourself how you feel, right? Stay in your lane, right? Do what's best for you. Don't worry about what's next, the left to the right of you, right? And yeah, just make sure you have that effort, and things will get done over a period of time. But I really want you to be having practical, positive reframing in regards to getting yourself in the right headspace, knowing what your capacity is, and doing things with that love, and doing things with that intention. Things will get better, right? So opponent to micro action, immediate action. What can I do, right? So I really want you to ask yourself, right? What is the smallest version of this I can sustain this week, right? So look at what you got on your agenda book, whatever you got that you got to get done, right? And then choose one action that feels most easy, right? So start with, prioritize what's important to you, right? But think about what's easy, what you can just get done, right? And stop before you get depleted, right? So not after. Don't wait till last minute to sit there. You down bad, you burnt out, right? Look at these things, identify yourself. That's what I'm talking about, really being intuitive with yourself, right? No one knows you more than yourself, right? So I really want you to be thinking about what's beneficial for you, right? And how you're able to consistently keep this flow going by having a balance, right? So I'll say it again, you don't need to approve your effort, you need to protect your energy, right? So I really want us to take that in consideration, because we need to be able to maintain our wellness and our well-being, right? I don't want you to be burnt out. So just pulling this video together, right? So burnout isn't a failure, it's feedback. So like I said, we gotta be intuitive, we gotta know how we feel, we gotta know what's really going on with our energy levels. Do we need rest? Do we need to recover? The body needs it, right? So you need to ask yourself these questions and do what's beneficial for you, right? So consistency should, be something that's gonna be able to support your well-being, right? Not take cost to it, right? So you're allowed to build slowly, as long as you're moving forward. That's what matters, right? So I really want you to take in consideration some of the advice that was given. We have some psychoeducation that we discussed today. If you found this video was beneficial, give it a thumbs up, share if possible, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.